Before just give me fits, they promised to get it.
It is 8 o'clock, so I will call the county council meeting of September 5th, 2018 to order, and we will start by honoring our nation with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first order of business today is a public hearing for the Whitley County 2019 budget and the solid waste budget. So, do we have public input, concerns, or things to be brought forth concerning that budget before we move forward?
The health department would like to speak.
Come forward, please introduce yourself, tell everybody who you're with, and
Well, I'm Scott Wagner with the health department. Come before you once again just as a plea to what we had before. I got some papers here for you. There's two there. Just as a recap, what we had asked for for the 2019 budget was to bring our public health nurse, currently occupied by Heather Reed, onto the tax levy from the current two parts of the grants that we get from the state. As you see in the top paragraph, what the change would have been, and then with the change of eliminating the part-time line item, which you had done previously, that would give you a total of $25,000 plus to a change for the 2019 budget. That being in addition to the 2019 budget, that would be the basic change. Of course, that wouldn't recognize any raises that you may give, but as current numbers, that's the number that would change for that. And then second paragraph goes on to describe the health educator position that I had brought up. That's what we would like to use that grant money for, that Heather would vacate, and then we could use that grant money for health educator. And here are some things down below that we intend to look at. All these things that are listed here are state recognized issues as well as county recognized issues for those age groups. This person would stay busy 20-25 hours a week all year long. You can see that the only thing we'd be providing them is a computer, no mileage, no PTO. Anybody have any questions?
What's the amount of the grant money?
The grant money, the amount, we get around $20,000 to $22,000 a year for what they call the Local Health Maintenance Fund. That started in 1957 when the health department was created here in Whitley County. Every county gets a certain amount based upon their population. That amount has not changed since 1957. It has been the same ever since. And basically, it's not really a grant, it's an application. We send in an application. If you fill out the application and list a budget, they give you the money. It's basically set aside for the local health departments from the state, and they give that to you as long as you apply for it. There's not any requirements we have to meet. We don't have to do any activities to get the money. We just fill out a budget, they send it to us. The other one is the tobacco grant, which is now called the trust fund, and that was a settlement back in the 90s from tobacco companies. We get about $13,000 for that.
So somewhere around 33, 34,000.
Yes. And so not only is part of Heather's, the public health nurse's salary paid out of that, we also pay the part-time clerk in the immunization clinic out of that money as well.
On that tobacco money, did they have a term limit on where that would actually run out someday?
It all depends on how the state people budget that money. It's supposed to be in for 20 years. I think it's going to go past that a little bit. It depends on how they keep that funded at the state. But I think 20 years they have to provide for smoking cessation activities, and then go from there.
how would this this top part where you requested that money?
Yes.
Talk about that some more.
Okay, so originally, the public health nurse was a full-time position at the health department. When I came on 22 years ago, that person worked the 35 hours at that time, full-time, paid for through the tax levy. In 2008, because of the budget issues, the council at that time decided to pay half of the public health nurse's salary out of grant money that we got from the state. Because of the financial crisis, we had to reduce our whole entire budget by 20%. So since that time, half of her salary has been paid out of the grant and the budget. The amount of money that comes out for her benefits is still from the tax levy part. It's not out of the budget. It's just strictly cash from the grant to the fund. And so now we're requesting that we can bring that onto the tax levy fully again so that we can have money for a health educator. So that's an important part for our community, and that's why we are requesting that we can contract with that person instead of a contract, not be an employee. Did you have any further questions?
No.
That's the history that I know about.
See, what you're asking us to do today is to put that back in the budget amount, that 28,000, or 20,
25.
396.28.
Part-time line item, it comes out about 25,400.
So then you could use the money that you would have used to pay for that to pay for the health educator.
Correct.
Which looks like you have a lot of good things lined up for that position.
Yes, I mean, you can see that on nightly news and publications all the time about things we need. Now, obviously, there's drug prevention. We have a lot of, I go to a lot of dirty houses in our community, places that don't even have a sweeper, kids that aren't being bathed. We have kids showing up at school with bed bug issues. There's a lot of education that you think would be common sense, but it isn't anymore. And so there's a big issue with that. Obviously, with high school, we have had an increase in STDs in the last couple of years. A lot of these things are tied with vaccinations, like meningitis for their high schoolers, pneumonia and shingles for your council on aging. We also work with the WIC to help promote the WIC activities as far as nutrition and nursing mothers. And we have a terrible problem in Whitley County with pregnant mothers smoking. So we want to stop that. No, appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, we do have a request here. How would the council like to handle this?
I think we should just hear all these requests, and then when we get into our budget at the end of our regular meeting, then we can kind of get back into discussing some of this stuff.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
Anyone else, please?
Emergency management, please.
Please come forward, and again, if you would, for the home audience, introduce yourself and who you're with.
Good morning, gentlemen. Amy Biggs, the County Emergency Management Director. I have behind me my current Deputy Director, Ed Scott. He's passing out some information for your review this morning. I come before the council to discuss the budget reduction that involves specifically the Deputy Director position. Indicated on the budget, it was reduced from my proposed amount of $35,100 to $26,690. In essence, this restricts the Deputy Director position to remain at a part-time position and not a full-time position. As I had communicated in the past, our position is funded 50% by the state Department of Homeland Security. They have been continuing that program, and we have no indication that they will discontinue that support. They find it vital as they consider all emergencies to start local and end local, regardless of the amount of input and assistance that may be needed from other counties or additional state agencies. So as a result of that, they promote having full-time employees. They will pay up to 3 positions at 50% salary reimbursement. Now, in order to get that 50% reimbursement, we're required to conduct multiple educational, training, and exercises with our local partners to make sure that they are well familiar with the rules and the regulations and the impacts and the preparedness level that needs to be handled by the state. This cost that's saved the counties just since 2015, that 50% reimbursement, has been a total of $67,968. That's offset the county budget. In addition to that, on a personal level, because of my employment, I do not participate in the PERF program, so the Public Employee Retirement Fund. That's 11.2% that is paid from the county into all of the county employees. That's a cost savings of $5,718 a year that's not paid on their behalf. In addition to that, I do not participate in the health insurance for the county that's offered to all the employees. That's a cost saving of approximately $8,847 for a total savings of $14,565. This cost savings alone would cover the additional cost for the deputy director. Now, our office is extremely small. Myself as a full-time employee, Edward Scott is a part-time employee. We do have some volunteers, but all of those volunteers have full-time employment or are retired and enjoying their retirement. So I can't count on them on a regular basis. But we've demonstrated a commitment to response to the community and to support the community in all efforts if possible. And we do that 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It's not uncommon, as it just was on Monday. I got a call from Whitley County Consolidated Schools at 9:30 at night. I didn't disregard that call. I didn't disregard that email, because that's our job, our commitment to the community, that we serve in that capacity on a 24/7 basis. So our office, while our office hours show 8 to 4:30, it goes way beyond that in regards to our support of the community. The era of emergency management being that small office in the basement of a building is no longer. I think you'll find, if you talk to your colleagues, if you talk to your representatives in your respective districts, they'll tell you that emergency management is out there supporting and being seen, whether that be at the 4-H fair, whether that's at Turtle Days, whether that's at Old Settlers Days. So we have a commitment to prepare before an incident occurs. Just in the last month, we have been working and advocating with all of our long-term care nursing homes to make sure that they aren't a burden to the community and they're able to sustain their operations in a time of emergency. We also work with the school systems, and we've been working with those that are less fortunate, associated with passages in some of our other care facilities. We also respond to the incidents. There's been a number of incidents. We've supported law enforcement, fire department, and EMS personnel through the duration, ranging from the trail derailment to any type of hazardous material chemical that's spilled. And then we also follow that up after the incident. We identify what went well, what could have been improved, and what we can do to enhance that improvement, whether that's through training, education, exercising, or additional equipment funding, potentially through grant options. So we funded on grant options. We brought into the county just in the last 3 years $52,855 that's offset equipment needs, educational, exercising components for the citizens and the partners that we work with. So while we've evolved immensely over the last 10 years, we continue to grow and expand as the needs of the community grow. It's even better if I had a full-time deputy. A few of those initiatives that I talked to you about is this is a 133-page document sent out by the governor on our state school system. And this is the responsibility of the local Department of Homeland Security to work with all the educators and all the school boards to make sure that they're identifying their needs and training appropriately to be able to handle those emergencies. Many of the storms that I talked about that have occurred over the course don't again happen from 8 to 4:30. Our response has been there, we've been in public, and we've been responsive to the needs, alerting people prior to the emergency occurring so they can take shelter. Last but not least, the amount of hours that are put in on a regular basis. While this is a full-time position for me, I pulled my records and I'm happy to show them to you if you'd like. The extended hours that I work beyond just the 8 to 4:30. You'll note on here that there's many hours that I'm teaching between 6 and 10 o'clock at night, because that's when our volunteers, that's when our community needs additional assistance, not just during 8 to 4:30. There's many hours that are located here that are above and beyond the 75-hour minimum, which I think will help substantiate the need for a full-time deputy director. So I appreciate your time and listening, and I welcome any opportunity to answer questions that you might have.
Amy, how'd you come up with the figure of the $35,100 for a full-time salary?
I worked with the other full-time deputy directors in our district, which include 11 other counties. And that's actually under what those are based upon our per capita and the number of people that we have in our community. On range, they're closer to about 39,000, but I felt that this was the first time that Whitley County would be entertaining a full-time deputy director, so I wanted to look at that conservatively. I also worked with the auditor to identify some of the other departments that do operate just on an 8 to 4:30 basis that aren't called out after hours, that also had a deputy within.
Thank you. Any other questions, please?
Thanks, Hank.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate your time, gentlemen.
Remember when we used to draw like about $10,000 for teeth hairs for that yard?
Anyone else, please? Sheriff Gatton,
Bye.
please. If you would, sir, introduce yourself and who you're with.
Morning, Mark Gatton, Whitley County Sheriff. I'm coming back to you after discussion with Thor to request again and maybe talk later about one of the 2 confinement officers that I'd asked for when I came to you the first time. You all know we keep getting cautionary or warnings on our jail inspection to increase staff levels. So that's what I'm coming back for you to talk about that this afternoon, this morning yet. And the next thing would be Janelle and the 911 fund on
equipment repair and maintenance. I requested $70,000 in that line item. Still requesting $70,000. When we got our budget back, it was knocked down to $62,000. Right now, without anything breaking, I have $65,200.61 in maintenance contracts that I have to pay out of that. So obviously the $62,000 that it was cut to does not cover that.
What did you say that was, Janelle?
$65,200.61 in maintenance contracts, and that's if nothing breaks that I have to pay. So the $70,000 is just a little bit of pushing if something breaks.
any questions for either of us?
You requested 70, you need, and you're committed to 62.7?
65,200.
Okay. Any questions of the sheriff? Thanks. Anyone else, please?
Mark Sturtevant, County Maintenance Director.
Question in reference to the proposed budget cut to the janitorial supply item, line item 2002. I gave you a 3-year history here of what the budget was appropriated and what the expenditures have been in the past. I understand it looks a little low this year as far as the expenditures, but there's some equipment that comes out of there. We still need to purchase the ice melt for these upcoming winter season. And I'm asking that that be back to the request of $22,000 instead of $12,000.
So you expect to use that other 12,000 yet this year for
Yes.
ice melt and trash can liners and stuff?
Yes. The regular janitorial supplies. And like I said, if there's any money towards the end, we typically buy a replacement.
Any questions, please? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone else, please? Jarrell, do you have anything to share with us on your budget?
We do have a slight increase, 4.5% increase.
If you would, I'm sorry, I said your name, but introduce yourself.
Throughout
If you're
Whitley
with.
County Solid Waste.
Thank you.
But that is not impacted on property tax levies, anything like that. It's solely, we're funded solely on the user fee. It's assessed to every property in the spring installment. Any questions?
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Anyone else, please? Okay, at this time, we'll close the public hearing. And we'll move forward with our council meeting and the agenda. And the first item on the agenda today would be Sheriff Gatton. Did Sheriff Gatton have anything additional to say?
I think we're a little confused on how you're running the meeting.
Essentially, we've already had that, I mean, it's not necessary, but you're on the agenda is the reason I'm calling you. If
We
you,
just didn't want to miss the agenda, we just wasn't sure how that was going.
Nope, exactly.
I think he's brought up, I think he's already spoke to you individually anyway about the implementation of the secretary.
Okay, thank you. And then, Amy, you are on the agenda, so I'd offer you the same opportunity.
I appreciate that. No, I believe we communicated everything.
Okay, thank you. And I would offer the same opportunity to Mark. And I would take that, since he has left, that he has already presented to us what we needed to hear from him. So, with that out of the way, we'll move forward then to the salary ordinance amendment.
You want me to go ahead and? Okay. So, as you guys know, you guys had discussed Tammy's position and needed to be funded at the full deputy director pay. Well, you guys approved the additional appropriation, but you didn't actually make a separate motion for the salary ordinance amendment. So we need the separate motion, because if you do the additional appropriation, you also need this done. So, if you guys remember, you guys approved that, and it's all good, but, and the other thing along with that is, you said you wanted to back pay her because she should have been making it January 1st as of this year. So I also need your approval, to go retroactive as of December 17th to December 30th, because that's what was paid on January 16th. That was the first payroll for this year with the new salary. So we'll pay that out, and then, which comes to that's 18 pays, which comes to $1,099.44. And then we will pay her the additional $61.08 through the rest of the year on normal pays. So I need a motion for your approval for the salary ordinance amendment and to pay her the lump sum and to pay her the additional amount for the rest of the year.
I make a motion to approve both requests.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all board members present.
Thank you.
Okay. I think order of business, we probably need to back up here and talk about the things that were brought to us, whether we want to make those changes or not for this budget, now that we're in a meeting. So, the things that were brought to us today. Before we don't make any changes, the first thing that was brought to us today is the Health Department. Does council have any wishes to make any changes based on the information that was provided? Any discussion?
By moving this position, how does it affect our general budget? That would be an addition to our...
The Health Department's request for the $25,396 to be
It doesn't
changed.
affect county general, it's in the health fund. It's completely separate from
It's
county.
within their budget.
Yeah, it's in their budget, yes. I mean, you have the max levy, and the max levy gets distributed between the health department, county general, community services, county 4-H, CUME capital development, CUME bridge. Yeah, it gets split up between those 6 funds. Okay, so you have a certain amount of tax levy that goes into each of those funds, and the health department is one of those that gets some of that. So say, you know, anything, you put so much tax levy in county general, that's gonna take away from other, you know, other funds. So, but yes, it's completely separate from county general.
I wonder if the approximately 30,000 more or less of, I'll call it grant money for lack of a better word, if that's too much to be spent on education, that maybe we could just determine an amount to be spent on educational purposes and the balance of it to subsidize the current health salary like we do now. Rather than take the entire position and put it on the tax levy, that just take part of that and put on the tax and part of it from the grant type money, and then the balance of the grant money used for educational reasons.
But that money has already been appropriated to the health department, right? And we're not taking it, it wouldn't come back out of there for their budget.
Well, so you guys could have, you know, could decide either way. I advertise at the highest amount for everything.
I guess the reason I'm proposing this is it's a new program, and I don't want to just throw $30,000 out here for education, not knowing how much they would actually maybe spend. And, you know, if they would just use part of it for education for the first year, and then next year you could be addressed as to whether to make it a total, the salary totally paid out of tax levies, or leave it like we would do now. And that's just a suggestion to see how it works out for the first year.
I see a lot of good ideas there or a lot of good programs there for.
Well, there's good programs, but I have no idea what they're going to cost at this point. Well, I'm sure Scott probably doesn't either, really. But I guess if he didn't spend it, he didn't spend it. He doesn't have to spend it just because the money's there, so.
I think, well, I mean, the bulk of it's going to be tied up in just paying an hourly part-time person to go around and do these programs, and having someone that's educated to do those programs to work part-time might be a challenge to find the person to do it for that. So I think it's a fair price, and I think it's a good outreach to the community.
So my understanding with the information that Scott presented, that the change is going to be to the budget of $25,396.28. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right.
Which we've advertised for.
And originally take out the 28.
Pardon?
We originally took out the 28 out.
I'll make a motion, we approve Scott's request for the new change of 2019 budget. That would be $25,396.28.
I have a motion, I'll call for a second. I will second the motion to bring it forward to discussion. So we have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion?
He's on his way.
Scott?
Is this person underneath Scott? Scott will be the one she'll answer to, or the person will answer to?
Sure.
If we could just take maybe a minute. Scott's on his way back here, so I think that's a fair question for him.
Mr. Chair, can I say something?
Yes.
The one thing that I'd like to bring forward is infant mortality in Whitley County is very high. It's one of the highest in the state, and actually the country. Indiana's infant mortality is terrible, and a lot of it's because of smoking, obesity, drugs, and I would hope that this program would work with that to try to help us with getting that under control. If we don't try, it cost all of us.
Well, it could have some long-term effects if they can break some of those habits in young people, maybe keep some of them out of jail, which is a huge expense. I'm thinking about drugs primarily.
Drugs and drinking, yeah. Human contamination.
He said he was on his way.
I have a motion and I have a second, and we are holding the meeting to gain information on a question that you have. Do we want to suspend this conversation, move ahead to the second issue and come back to it, or do we need to finish this out since we have a motion and a second on the floor? I'm looking for guidance.
Well, I think, George, you pretty much said that person would be underneath Scott.
Right.
Yeah, and he would be.
Okay, so that's...
That would answer your question.
Yeah.
Are there any other concerns or questions that we might have before this goes to a vote that would, knowing that Scott's on his way back here, that he could answer, or that we want to ask him before anybody makes a final decision?
I'm thinking, in my own mind, it might be a good idea just to go ahead and do this and evaluate it again and see what the statistics show, whether we're gaining anything or not. We should be able to see that we're doing something good or not, I would think.
It'll be pretty hard to measure that.
It is hard, but, yeah. Kind of like giving somebody an immunization shot. How do you know if it did work or not work? In that respect, too.
I think Scott's on top of things, and I think he'll monitor that program and make sure it works good.
Yeah, I do too. I got a lot of confidence in his ability to control this thing.
Well, we're going to move forward to a vote then, if no one has anything additional to say. We have a motion and a second. At this time, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of making the change to move the $25,396 into the budget to pay that position, thus allowing that money to come available for the programs listed on our sheet, I would ask at this time to raise your right hand. And all those opposed, the same. Let it be reflected that it was passed unanimously with all board members present. Thank you for
You got back in time.
coming back. We wanted you to be here for the vote.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
Now we're done. The second issue then was what was brought to us by emergency management, asking to fund that position to a full-time position currently at the 26,600, I think, and wanting to increase it to 35,100. The request was made. How does council wish to handle that?
I move that we grant her her desire for the increase.
To make it a full-time position?
Correct.
So we have a motion. I'd call for a second.
What was the motion?
To allow the part-time position to be funded as a full-time position at the rate of $35,100.
I'll second that motion.
So I have a motion and a second. Now I'll call for further discussion. My concern is that I see it as a value. I see it as not only in the position and what you provide, but I see the difference in what you're asking for as a value. I appreciate the point of what you're pointing out to us as far as the savings that you have, but if you're not in that position, we don't have those savings. And I hope that you're in that position for a very long time, because you do a tremendous job, and we appreciate that. But those aren't necessarily a solid savings forever. The other concern I have is that once this position is approved at a bargain price at $35,100, is that the right number?
Yeah.
At $35,100, then, as you've already stated, it's probably below market, and then next year we're doing a evaluation of the position and looking at a $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 raise for the position, because it doesn't match up with what that position pays. So that's a concern too, that we have to look at when we're going into, in my mind, when we're going into approving this.
Is this position exempt or non-exempt?
Right now, it's non. But this position will be evaluated by Wagner, Irwin, Shealy and Associates as part of the EMA, so it will have a current job description. It will be refactored, and at the end of the project, when they provide salary information for each position, that one it will be evaluated as a full-time position as well if you approve it. So those concerns will be addressed through the HR consulting group.
So that's my concern, is that we need to look at this as far as a need and not just as a bargain, because the bargain's not going to be there. Yes, sir.
Well,
I'd like to bring forward that that is a subsidized position too, that we're only looking at half of that.
correct. That is correct. Yeah, it's all not a direct out of our cost.
Assuming that these things that she wants to do are successful, it's a bargain.
Well, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This time I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of moving that to a salary of $35,100 at this time, and going forward as a full-time position with the benefits that come along with that, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. And let it be shown that it passed with favorable votes from Councilman Barrett, Councilman Overdeer, Councilman LaRue, Councilman Banks, and Councilman Hodges. Okay, and the third then issue we had was from Sheriff Gatton. Sheriff, would you come back forward, please, and go back over the issues that you have that were easy with the other ones because we had handouts on them and we don't have that information from you, so just explain to us.
Okay, I had requested, what came in on the budget is requesting 2 officers. In reality, all of them is requesting 1 confinement officer.
What page is this on?
To try to stay in compliance or keep up with what the state keeps requesting each year to increase staff. I forget what year we did, we had a staffing analysis done, and we were short by like 7 people. We've gained some since then, but we're still short according to the jail inspector. So I'm requesting 1 confinement officer at the base grade of whatever, I'm sorry, I don't have that.
We're still gonna be short. What's the, I guess, penalty for not adhering to what they tell us we have to have?
Well, we just had the inspection in July, and it was giving us another cautionary note to add staff.
The reason I had the sheriff come back in, because I don't think, unless I really missed it, when we went through the budgets before, we did not address the 2 jailers' positions that were requested. Don't think that we had any discussion on them. So I had Jana advertise for it, but I wanted him to come back to ask the council again for those positions rather than cutting them because we didn't have discussion.
So what you're requesting is one additional jailer compared to what you have already?
Correct.
From your standpoint, is that something we need badly, or is that just something the state tells us we have to have?
It's, you have to keep flipping.
On busy days, yes, Bill, we need it badly. We need enough to staff the satellites, which is where we're inadequate right now, which the satellites are what watch the 4 cell blocks. We don't have enough staffing. They want us to sit there 24/7. We don't have enough
These two
staffing.
right here.
Oh, I have a question. If, in years in the past, nobody really wanted to sit back there. Now, it's gonna be mandatory that somebody will be sitting back there.
When there's 4, Sean implemented that they need to have 2 back there when they're free. They don't always have the free time, and we're not there 24/7, Glenn, so I'm not gonna stand here and say when there are 4 that I know for sure that there's people back.
It's $41,639 per position, and there was 2 separate requests for additional jailers. But you're saying at this time you're just asking for one of them?
Correct.
So on the public safety budget, you advertised for both of those, so we can definitely at this time cancel one of them because the request has been withdrawn. So now we just have to make a decision on the second position that was asked for.
Do you have a pool of applicants that you can fill the position?
Right now, we have 2 openings due to people leaving and going to other departments or other jobs within law enforcement. So, yeah, we do have a pool right now that we're going through, and we have interviews next Thursday, I believe the 13th, that we could pick another one weekly.
You have a lot of turnover in that job.
Yes, sir. We have a lot of staff that have less than 2 years of service in the jail.
I'll make a motion, we approve his request for one additional jailer.
We have a motion?
I'll second that. The jail is one of our big problems, and I presume that this would help solve that problem somewhat.
When you're full staff, Mark, how many jailers do you have now?
When we're full staffed, what does this make us, 19, I believe, 19 or 20?
What does the state require? How many jailers does the state
If I
require?
remember right, Mr. Banks, when they did the study, it was like 26, is what they were wanting.
And where should our road deputies be at with that same study?
We're right about the same in there, we're right around 20, 21. Because I think it was 20 and a quarter or something in that area.
And how many deputies are we at?
With the new one, if it goes through, we'll be at 17.
Mark, I just want to kind of bring up something here. Years in past, we knew there'd be things skid from one cell door to another underneath the doors,
Yeah,
and this might help deter some of the problems.
if there are people sitting back here going, yeah, you know what the jail layout is, that, how it looks, yeah, they could see what we call, some people call them cars, it's a rope and a card, or a rope and a pencil that they can slide out, and they can somehow get that around to the next cell door to communicate when they're locked down. also been in there enough to know, even sitting there, there's times that things.
Yeah, yeah.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This time I'll ask for a vote. All those in favor of approving the additional jailer position, please respond by raising your right hand. And all those opposed, the same. And let it be shown that it was passed favorably with Councilman Barrett, Councilman Overdeer, Councilman LaRue, Councilman, I'm sorry, who voted against it with me? Council Damon and myself voted against it. Everybody else was in favor. All right, thank you, Sheriff. And then that brings us to the maintenance, well, actually, we still have a, wanted to talk about the request that you made, please, Mark, on the maintenance for dispatch. That was originally budgeted at $70,000. We cut it to $60,000. Janelle has shared with us that she has a need for the absolutely, let me find it.
65,200 is committed.
Is committed.
9/11 budget in the book. That potential issues under the 9/11.
So at 65.2, it was at 70, we cut it to 60. What's the council's favor in changing that or leaving it the way it is?
I move we put it back where it was, the original request.
To 70,000? Was that the original?
Yes.
Yeah, correct.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? This time I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it's passed unanimously with all board members present. Okay, thank you. And then that'll bring us to the maintenance department. Request, we had cut that line item to
Cut it to 12.
We cut it to 12 based on the expenditures from this year. The balance right now is 12,000, so he's spent 8,000 of it from last year's budget, or actually 10,000 from the budget. He's come in and talked to us about what the plans were for that money and what he uses that at the end of the year for. Is there any motion from the council to change that, or are we happy leaving that the way it is?
I'm happy with leaving it the way it is. If he needs more, he can come back.
I feel the same way. I think he can come back and ask. I don't know how much ice melt costs, but
Depends on what kind of year we have, too, how much he needs.
Yeah, it's pretty hard to predict that without being one way or the other.
If he needs more, you'll have to ask. That's my opinion.
I'd be in favor of him coming back and asking for additional, leaving this as it is.
He now has expense $13,057.
Out of the 22 that he has for 2017. Showing the statistics from 2015, 16, and 17 and the expenditures so far this year. 15, 16, and 17 are obviously maybe skewed to a certain extent of not knowing what was spent the 11th hour on stocking up for the next year's supplies. But what has been expended so far this year and what the balance is probably in line with where the numbers are. We just don't know what was, can you look last year and see what was expended in December?
$6,822.52, but some of that was, it says $3,883 was spent on a tenant floor scrubber for the courthouse.
Okay, so kind of like what he said about buying a piece of equipment with that money late in the year.
Done December 4th.
So 6,000 of it last year was spent in December out of a $22,000 budget. It's council's wish to still leave it alone and have them come back to us?
I think so.
Yes. Okay, that will not require a motion, so we will disregard the request. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the longevity pay date. Jana, do you have something you want to share with us on that?
Just that I gave you guys, you have the breakdown, and then we're requesting, the date to be,
November 20th.
yes, because I know everybody who doesn't like a little extra money before Black Friday, so. But no, that's right around the same time we've been doing it the last few years, so we just picked that date. It's in between pay periods, so.
I'm surprised the NAACP isn't complaining about that Black Friday. Calling it Black.
I make a motion, we approve the longevity pay date for 2018 for November 20th, 2018.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Let it be shown that it was passed unanimously with all board members present. Next item on the agenda, 2019 schedule approvals. Has everybody had a chance to look through the schedule approval, or the schedules?
And some of them were just informational, but I gave you all of them, so.
Anybody have any concerns with the way any of the schedules are set up? Should have received 5 different
I
ones in
think
your
I'm
packet.
not be able to attend some of them.
I call for a motion.
I move that we approve as presented.
I'll second it.
A motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of approving the 2019 schedules, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. So we
No, I'm in favor.
Are you abstaining?
Due to the lag between the proper vote, I will ask once again for all those in favor of the vote, please, the motion, please respond by raising your right hand, and oppose the same, and let it be shown that it was passed unanimously by all board members present. George, Commissioner report, please.
Okay, just got a couple of things here. The first thing regarding the schedules, the commissioners approved the holiday schedule with one change because we don't have, aren't any elections next year as affecting the county, and we won't have any time off. We changed the July 4th, just that Thursday to July 4th and 5th, so that Thursday and Friday would be the holiday, and that still leaves us one short of what we had for this last year. But we approved that. We'd like your approval on that.
What was that again, George? The 4th?
July 4th and 5th instead of just July 4th.
So 2 days.
Yes.
Okay.
And in respect to that, George, I've always been amazed that we would celebrate or give people time off for Good Friday, but we never declared Easter as a holiday.
It always falls on Sunday.
I realize that. But however, you never know but what people could be called out with a tornado or what, or deputies working on a holiday, really a holiday, but we don't declare it a holiday.
4-2 schedule.
I did 4-2 schedule. I think we'll get to that in a little bit.
Yeah, I think I've, yeah.
think public safety is on a different holiday schedule.
Yeah, because 4 and 2 schedule, it's all the same, but they have Easter off.
So, do we make a motion to amend the holiday schedule as George presented it?
I'll second it.
I made that motion. Kim seconded it.
So your motion is to declare July 5th a holiday?
Yes. Amended our schedule approval to include that.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same.
Thank you.
I opposed.
The employees, thank you. The only other thing I had is, we tabled the last meeting that you had, the insurance appraisal for the $3,200. And you asked me to check with the insurance company on the reason that they didn't do the appraisals. And talking to our insurance company and others, basically, it's for our own protection with the appraisals that they can do their appraisal, but, you know, for our benefit, to make sure that there are no lapses or differences in the appraisals. If one of our buildings is burned down, if we weren't insured enough, that it wouldn't be upon them for the shortage that,
Sure.
you know, we're making sure that we're covered for everything in the community, or the facilities that we have. So it's common to do that. The insurance company would do that, but the cost would go right back to us anyway. So I think it's incumbent upon us to do our own appraisal on that and to make sure that we're covered.
I agree with that. It's best to determine the value of that building, not the insurance company.
Right. And we always have. It's always been county's responsibility.
So we find our own appraiser. We don't use our insurance to appraise and pay them for it.
Right, yeah. And that was an independent appraiser that I got a hold of on that Deo Stone.
I just don't understand how an insurance company will come back and appraise something that somebody else, or insure something that somebody else appraises. You could have somebody appraise it for $100,000 and it's a $10,000 building, and they just then insure it for that?
They'll insure it for that, but what they'll do is they do up to that. It isn't that they'll give you a check for that, but they'll, you know, once you rebuild it, they'll give you up to that amount. I'm asking for the $3,200 for the appraisal, so our insurance company has asked us, since our last appraisal was 2010 maybe, it's been 8 years since our last appraisals.
So, just so I understand, our insurance is asking for it?
Yes. All the schools have to do the same thing. Our libraries have to do the same thing to be insured, to make sure that we're fully insured.
I fully understand that it's going to cost us to have our buildings appraised. It just doesn't, I can't understand how a third party would appraise for someone else to insure. That's the, I mean, they have to be an accredited appraisal,
Yeah.
I would assume.
And these are approved, the appraisal companies that we did contact are all approved by the insurance companies, our insurance company. But they just gave us a number of companies to get a hold of.
Well, we're going to pay for it one way or the other, so if this is the best way, the cheapest way to pay for it, rather than the insurance company spending time on having appraisers work for them, then...
Well, it's proper for us to do it also.
I'd move we approve the, what, 3,200
Yes.
to do the appraisal. I'm more comfortable with us doing the appraisal than I am having the insurance company do it.
Where's that money? Where in your motion, where's the money coming from?
General fund.
Yeah, we can take it out of the commissioner budget. We've got independent contractors, I think, that we've got enough money in there.
I have a motion, I'll call for a second.
I'll second.
Motion, a second, any further discussion? All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand, and opposed the same, let it be shown it's passed unanimously with all members present.
George, is that something that's gonna happen every year?
No, usually they ask for it every 3 years, but I think if we did it every 6 to 8 years or 5 to 8 years, I think we're proper, because it doesn't change that much. You know, and we do let our insurance companies know, like with the salt barn, that'll be an addition as we go. Anytime we do anything to the buildings that affect the cost of the buildings or the value of the buildings.
Next item on the agenda is the minutes. Has everyone had a chance to
I got
review
a
them?
transfer resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Transfer resolution for
$18.
$18.
That's for the,
Okay, yep.
Veteran service.
Jana, can you share with us on the veteran service transfer request, please?
This was, which I guess collecting all of them, but this was for what I came to you for the last meeting. If you want me to bring them all at once, we can wait on that one. But the salaries that were short because of the way the salary ordinance ran, this was one of them. So do you just want me to bring them all at the next meeting, or do you want to just approve this one now, or for that?
We're here, we have it, it's in front of us. What's the council's wish?
Make a motion that we approve the $18.
I second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, will go to a vote. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. All those opposed, the same, and let it be shown as passed unanimously by all members present. And then we have a second transfer resolution, pauper transcript, or for pauper transcripts to supplies of $2,000 from Whitley Superior Court.
I bet they got money to do that out of their own budget.
I move we approve that transfer.
I have a motion
a second.
I bet they got money.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand, and opposed the same, and it was passed unanimously with all members present. Third one is me. The auditor's office, transferring $1,100 from
It is from travel and mileage supplies.
travel and mileage to
Supplies. And
to
the reason-
supplies. Okay.
And what happened is we had to purchase some new chairs in our office, and so I had to make the transfer because, and travel and mileage, I was able to, for some of my expenses, I didn't realize this, but there's the elected official training fund, and for my expenses, we can take certain travel expenses out of that fund. So that's why we have the additional in there.
Council's wishes.
Tell me again what that was.
$1,100 to be transferred from travel to supplies for office chairs that were purchased or needed to be purchased for the auditor's office.
I move we approve that.
I have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And opposed, the same. Passed unanimously with all board members present.
And just on a side note, the chairs are as old as the building.
Why didn't you buy new chairs?
Huh?
Why didn't you buy new chairs then? Why did you buy old chairs?
We bought new chairs.
Oh, you said the chairs were as old as the building. Oh, you're talking about
They've
the
been-
one you got rid of?
Yeah. and so it was hurting
I
some
understand why you
backs.
buy old chairs.
No.
Okay, now we'll move to the minutes. We did not approve at last month's meeting the June minutes, so at this time, I would ask, has everyone had a chance to review June minutes? And
June, I have July and August.
July.
you're right, July and August, yeah, I'm sorry. So the July 3rd meeting, the minutes were not approved. So has everybody had a chance to review the July minutes, and are there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I would call for a motion.
I move we approve the July 3rd minutes as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. The July minutes were approved unanimously. That moves us to the August minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those, or are there any additions or corrections in the August minutes as presented? Hearing none, I will call for a motion.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please respond by raising your right hand. And the same pose the same.
I'm going to abstain for being absent.
Councilman Barrett.
I have nothing. Brandon, I'd like to talk to you before you leave.
Councilman Bayman? Councilman LaRue?
No.
Councilman Wheeler?
Yes, I would like an update on the Personnel Committee. What we're doing.
Okay, so Wagner, Irwin, Shealy, and Associates began their update of our job classification and salary system on August 27th, I believe they were on site. They held a 1-hour project briefing meeting. Thanks, Mr. Barrett, Mr. Wheeler, for attending that on behalf of the council. They met with about approximately half of our department heads and did one-on-one interviews where they just tried to get the organizational chart within your department and how your internal structures are set up. They also distributed job questionnaires for each position within each department. Those need to be completed by the employee and signed off on each department head and returned to me by September 21st to return to Wagner, Irwin, Shealy. They will be back on site to complete their department head meetings on Wednesday, September 26th, and they have requested an hour meeting to provide additional briefing with council members. They've asked to meet with commissioners for an hour meeting for a briefing, and then also requested to meet with council for an hour for briefing. Informational only. They would like as many council members present as possible.
What was the date on that?
Date again?
Wednesday, September 26th. They will be here between 10 and they'll probably be here until 4. Commissioners will be meeting with them from 10 to 11, but after that, you'll be meeting with Kent Irwin and Addie Rucker.
So we don't have a definite time for us?
I'm trying to be flexible with you guys to get as many of you here as
Gotcha.
possible,
I got
so.
What was the times again?
11, 1, 2, and 3.
2 or 3 would be the only time slot that would work for me, but if that's not for the majority, then
That works for me also.
Works for me. 2 or 3, either one.
26.
My best chances of being here would be 3, the latest possible meeting.
3 would work
3.
well for me also.
Yeah.
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock?
3 o'clock.
Perfect. I will say that they said that for the department heads that they've already met with, that it has gone very well. And that typically they said that usually the concerns most departments have are wages. And that surprisingly, the concerns of Whitley County have been, they want current job descriptions and a process and procedure in place to follow if they ever needed it to be changed. And so they were surprised that it wasn't all about money, but they said it went really well.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I'm adding this, so I have it.
Yes, I have one more thing. During our meeting yesterday, the commissioners were presented by the Corporate Challenge team with this trophy for the county. And we're proudly honored to present this to the council also, that they won the Corporate Challenge for this year. That's through the many, I don't know how many corporations in the city that we, Jana, you're part of that? What they do is they actually do some events. They engineer your boat, basketball, kids game night, human football, mush ball, card games, and then a corporate challenge service event, either a food donation or a blood donation. So a lot of good for the community and a lot of fun for the people that are doing this. So we want to thank them for letting us display this.
First year of ever winning.
Yeah.
And thanks to all the county employees who participated.
Got a great group.
Councilman Wheeler, did you have anything additional?
No, that's it. Thank you.
I have nothing.
Councilman Banks, nothing?
No, sir.
I have nothing. Jana? Anyone in the audience have anything for the good of the cause? Brandon, come on forward, please.
Brandon Forrester, Whitley County Highway. As I'm sure you're all aware, we last year participated in the state-sponsored Community Crossings Matching Grant Program. Between last year and this year, we will $670,000 for road improvements, and the process right now we're applying for up to $1 million for a project for next year. As part of the application process, the state wants the county to commit being less than 50,000 population, 5% state, 25% county. Process, we need that commitment. And for the plan, have a 5-year road plan, and for the budget that is in there. Right now I have 7 applications going for 7 different projects. Their process only allows you to put 10 road segments project, so 70 road segments that I'm proposing. Continue to work on that. The deadline for that is September 28th. So I could, what they asked for is chairman of the commissioners, chairman of the sign, ask the commissioners. They did. I'm asking the council to authorize or allow the chairman to.
I just have one question. You said it was a 75-25 for $1 million project, and our share was $333,000?
Well, they will grant up to $1 million. For us to get the full $1 million, we have to commit to, or a third of what they're.
Okay.
So actually, based on the estimates, my project or the 7 projects combined actually comes out to over $1,333,000.
That's the maximum that we can get?
That's the maximum we can get.
Okay, thank you for
I
that.
would make a motion, we authorize the chairman to sign this agreement.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll go to a vote. All those in favor of authorizing me to sign for it, please respond by raising your right hand and oppose the same.
Brandon, you've done a lot of chip and seal, and I've seen it everywhere.
We are done. Depending on how you look at it, I'll say we did at least 39 miles. Double shield, 2 miles, 10,000 south, which is our reconstruction project for the year. So we say 101, and it's probably a little beyond that, but we are done for the year with that. Unfortunately, we had a culvert or a county tile that failed on one of the roads that we wedged in love with in chip seal, so we're out there today tearing up one of those roads. And we hate to see that because it's
How are we doing with getting that tile cleaned up or whatever out there at Westgate area?
I know that there was supposed to have been a contractor go out there this weekend to work on that, actually.
I know that water's still out there, and that's really got a stench to it.
Oh, yeah,
Really?
I know. I used to live at Westgate before you. That water's been there a long time, and that doesn't excuse it.
So it's a tile plug somehow.
Yeah, the roots in the tile most likely is what I'm being told.
I think you're just making a community pond there.
That'd be better than what it is.
Well, you know how kids are? I was a kid, we used to go down there and play in that water.
I would think a lot of mosquitoes there. That's a good hatchery right now.
Well, yeah, it's awful. There's mosquitoes everywhere.
Yep, thank you.
Any other questions for me? I'll put it out. Okay.
Thanks, Brandon.
Anybody else have anything, please? Hearing nothing, the meeting is adjourned.
Well, did we decide salaries on the budget?